welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion. And I am Peter, and over there, laying in a pool of Jello, is Watch Party. How you doing, sir?
I'm not dead.
No, are you a Force Ghost?
Haha, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. One of the, I think we see it in the trailer, funeral, right? We see Kwan's
Yeah,
funeral. I
right.
considered I would have to find, and I'm sure there's plenty of them in episode 603, but I was gonna try to find like a screen grab of like Quan in midair, and then make it look like a Force Ghost and put it above, his
Oh, yeah.
his
That'd
casket.
be good. Yeah.
Okay, I'll still try then.
Hmm.
But I think there's an opportunity there, so.
There it is. Yeah.
Episode 10, upon a rewatch, taking your notes, initial thoughts of this episode. Originally it would be like a finale of a season, but it's the finale of part two of a three-part season.
I mean, it still could be a finale of the season. Like,
Yeah,
like if
yeah,
this were just where season six ended, you'd be like, yeah, okay. Like, woof.
a hell of a way to end.
Hmm. Hmm.
First time showing off a character on screen. On screen, let me correct that because we had Tommy in season two. Um, I guess if you want to count Captain Turner, that was on screen, but via flashback, I mean, semantics. Um, but
Wait,
yeah,
who died in season two? Oh, Tommy.
Tommy,
Tommy.
Tommy,
Okay.
Tommy.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
thinking of the Power Ranger for some reason. I was.
he also passed away. The actual
Yeah,
actor.
yeah, he did actually. Yeah, no,
Oh
even
boy, that
sad.
was a tough one. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was a hell of an episode. You kind of forget. We talked about it in the previous review, kind of where it picks up and some of the things that happen, just because it's such a big part two of season six.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of different events to kind of keep track of, and all
Hmm.
the different dojos that are there, and you're trying to remember some of the dynamics and some of the previous encounters.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's one of my favorites. It sucks that we lose somebody that's an instant fan favorite in the character of Quan.
I
Um,
was rooting for him to win it all. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
I think a lot of us were
Mhm.
absolutely. Uh, the beginning of this episode, we'll get into it. One of my favorite sequences, even though it's a dream sequence. We have plenty of
Mhm.
those in every season. Um, but I would definitely say one of the better ones. Um,
Mhm.
Still don't love the look of AI, but I like the scene very much. So we are here to talk about Eunjangdo, which is episode 610.
Mhm.
This one is written by co-writers Bob Dearden, who's been on the show before, and also Olga Lexel. For the first time, I believe she's credited as a writer, not like a staff writer, but I think she's still credited as staff writer as well, on top of co-writer for this episode specifically.
Yeah, well,
And
her position was staff writer, so she's in the credits
mm,
for every episode as staff writer. And this was, an episode she got to co-write.
Yes, and Sherwin Shalati also directed this
Hmm.
episode as he did the previous one.
Hmm.
And as always, Amy provided us with the synopsis. She says Daniel isn't sleeping well because the nightmare of Mr. Miyagi potentially killing someone is haunting his dreams. He takes the information Terry gave him straight to Gunther for verification and gets the news that back in the day there was the rare death, foreshadowing in all caps. He doesn't get any additional information, however, because Gunther is quickly called away for a plot twist. Cobra Kai is at each other's throats after the elimination, and Sensei Kim is over their tantrums. Miyagi-Do is on top, and Cobra Kai is returning home in disgrace. And elsewhere, Kreese is sharpening his murder weapon for maximum murdering. They're all forced
Like
to
that.
regroup. Yeah, yeah. It's like, well, I guess this is the first time we see him sharpening it, but like even when he taunts like Johnny with it in episode six, like you would imagine that's already been like
It was
sharpened.
it was handed down from
Yeah,
Kim Sun Young too. Yeah.
yeah. Let's see. They're all forced to regroup though because the Russians were caught doping, and now Cobra Kai is back in the battle. The Miyagi-Do kids need a lot of guidance at this point, but Johnny and Daniel are feeling defeated over literally everything and are walking around on the beach, bickering, whining, and shoving each other like sixth graders. Miguel has zero patience for this and essentially tells them to get it together and grow up. And they listen. It was the pep talk they needed to take Robbie, Sam, and Miguel on a super fun training montage around Barcelona. Tori is also struggling with everything. She isn't really Cobra Kai, and in spite of the hard sell that Kreese gives her, she cannot view the Miyagi-Do kids as her enemies. They're her friends. She asks Kim if all the sacrifices that she made in her life were worth it to be a champion. She says yes, but we're all skeptical. The Tournament of Champions seemingly ends before it even gets started. Cobra Kai, Miyagi-Do, and the Iron Dragons get into a low-key brawl, and as Gunther is telling them to knock it off, he gets sucker punched by the Tiger Strike Sensei.
Mm.
And for the next 15-ish minutes, it's nonstop chaos on the mats with every team fighting each other and rivals fighting together. In the wings, Kreese takes this opportunity to attempt to eliminate Terry once and for all, but somewhere along the way, he's lost his weapon. But he's got Johnny, who hates Terry far more than he hates Kreese, and steps in with the assist. Downstairs, tragedy is occurring. Quan, not handling any of this very well, sees the dagger on the ground and views it as the edge he needs to take down Axel. He doesn't appear to have any
Mm.
issues with murder at this point, but it's all pointless because a slip sends Quan straight to the ground, landing on the knife. His wail stops every single person in their tracks, and the brawl is over. And wow, I'm getting chills. I think
Mhm.
that's one of the best ones. Um,
Yeah, Amy, I like the puns, the
yeah.
edge, the
hmm
pointless, the point like a
Yeah, it's this
lot
this
of
is
lot
all
of knife talk in this one.
yeah, it's all very, very good and very fitting for the title of this episode, Eunjangdo. This her synopsis cuts deep,
Yeah,
you
God,
know?
it did. Yeah.
Yeah, very sharp with the words
It
here.
was
Very
it
yeah.
just it kind of hits you in the heart, you know?
It really does. It really does. All right, so we kind of got our initial thoughts out of the way. Let's get into this
Mm.
episode.
All right.
She mentions it. We got Daniel's nightmare. We follow young Miyagi through the crowd and onto the mat where him and Daniel fight. That's all of my notes, because it's a good, 2-ish minutes.
Mhm.
We get a glimpse of a young Miyagi, uh, reprising this role. I guess is that okay? Reprising this role in the younger version is Brian Takahashi, a really great guy, really fun interview. If you guys missed out on
Good
that one,
interview. Yeah, listen to it.
thank you. Yeah. Yeah, what were man, what you remember your first initial thoughts when you saw the opening? We get this like old school putting to a film and you're like, oh, is this a
See, here's
flashback?
the thing. I'm a little bit in the prediction game. I did predict something like this. And once it hits, you're like, there it is, here it's coming, and then it's a reveal. He's walking up because I think they're the crowd is shouting Miyagi, Miyagi. So like you know what it is. Um, but really good. And I was just kind of like excited. Okay, who's this actor gonna be? So it was kind of like just thrilling, even like for the meta of it. Like who's this gonna be? What's he like? And then you're thinking the scene. What is the scene? Is it because you don't know it's a dream immediately until Daniel shows up and you're like, okay, that's probably not real.
Daniel
Yeah.
even looks like he's literally dropped into the sequence. He's like he was beamed in there. Like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I even wrote a note, it's a dream because Daniel gets a hit in on Miyagi. And come
Yeah.
on, we know that wouldn't have happened
Yeah,
normally.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
What you think of the gi and the Frank's interpretation of what it could have looked like back in the 40s?
um, I think it was a good look of that. Yeah, and it felt authentic. I do know, in one of my live streams, Hayden had come in, in the chat and said, nothing, it is a dream, nothing is like authentic or real. So like if this comes up in a spin-off, like the dojo he's fighting for, what they're wearing, everything, like the room, everything would be different. So it is, so nothing is real.
Right. The
So yeah,
emphasis that this is Daniel's nightmare.
this is, yeah, Daniel's dream.
Yeah.
But it did look good. And like you almost wonder, well, I don't know if like Daniel ever saw a picture of like an old Miyagi and a gi like that, or even like that gi or something like that, which is why he's dreaming it. Maybe.
It's just a passport.
Hmm.
Was there? I believe the gi was in the box, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
At
maybe it
least,
was
yeah.
or
Um,
something. Yeah,
yeah. I think we see like the fabric. I don't
yeah.
remember like
Hmm.
how much of it is actually visible, but if
Hmm.
I'm trying to picture the poster because they were pretty the placement of all the items was very specific, and so I
Hmm.
believe you might be able to see the cloth of the gi because it looks like a little bit more linen to me, but
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
just I like that it doesn't look like anything we've seen yet. So I love the way it's filmed. I believe they did get like one of the old timey cameras, for the sequence, and so like the
Mm.
movements of these the crowd does look a little jarring, and so to add to the effect of like this kind of being a nightmare, so I really love the look of it. I love how Daniel's talking about like this is a lesson, like I don't get it, and young Miyagi's like, lesson, what the fuck you talking about? you know
Hmm.
fight or get your ass kicked.
Right, right.
So yeah, yeah, really, really cool sequence. A
Hmm.
tease of, we're kind of crossing our fingers, yeah, like, what's to kind of come. But yeah, I do just kind of love how like anybody that you talk to about the show, like there is an emphasis. It's just a dream. We don't know what it would look like if we get any more of this going forward, kind of
Hmm.
deal. So
Right.
um let's see. Daniel wakes up after basically being struck in the face. We cut to inside Gunther's office, and our three senseis are there to authenticate the records. And Gunther says that everything matches, including the traditional seal. Um, Kang is been called away. What? Kang? Who the hell's Kang?
Well,
What?
Gunther's he's called away.
Right. Kang is being called away for another matter. Okay, so it means Gunther. I don't know why it says Kang. Again, dictation sucks on my phone. Called away for another matter. Amy called it a plot twist. And Johnny reminds Daniel that Cobra Kai's out, and they are in the finals, right? Because they see on Daniel's face that clearly he was hoping that this was fake. Silver was, pulling strings or whatever, doing the silver thing. And they're like, nope, this is actually sounds like it's legit, and it sounds like the match with this other guy did result in a death. And so yeah, Daniel just looks super bummed. Um, we go to the lobby of the hotel, and many of the fighters are scattered around. Tori's by her lonesome in the corner. Axel and Zara are standing across from Miyagi-Do. And Zara mentions that she's lost two sponsors, and three are threatening to drop her because of the live stream debacle, I guess, with Tori. Do you think that's really? I
They
don't
would
know.
drop her that much, that fast?
Yeah, right.
Probably not in
Because
real
yeah,
life, but maybe Tori is convincing, you know?
yeah, yeah. If you, I guess you know what? If maybe your sponsors and you have like like a pulse on the tournament, and you're familiar with like this new girl, the Tooth Fairy, maybe you're like, she's I don't know, she's got like a lot to lose too. But you take her word for it in a little live stream, you know,
Yeah.
um, out here. I don't know, but this is clearly important to her, and Clara's unhappy. Who's also unhappy is Miguel, who catches Axel staring from afar. He tells Sam, oh no, oh no, Sam tells him about the night that he left. So yeah, she finally tells him, thinking that like the shoulder check or whatever it was, or in the previous episode that was gonna be it. But the stare down, pretty funny. In my interview with Patrick Lewis, who plays Axel, he talks about how like it was just so hard to keep a straight face, knowing like Shola was across the way with like his exaggerated movements toward like look at this guy, like what's up with him, so that was fun to hear.
Yeah.
um Robbie goes over to Tori and tries to apologize, but she's unhappy, says everything always goes to shit. Quan comes over to tell Robbie that he's a lucky bastard and that whatever happened to the match yesterday will never happen again, as they breathe into each other's faces. They get really close quite a few times. I'm not seeing as many of the
Are you
Quan
on another
bees.
kiss here?
It'd be kind of fun. Like they get really close, like at the bar, and then in this sequence. But I don't know. Maybe that's how much they hate each other. They can get that close.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Robbie asks that Tori get home safely, and Kwan's still up in his feels, says that spot was his. Tori responds he shouldn't have let him kick his ass, to which Kwan takes exception. She adds that he cost her hers. He says that Zara would have just destroyed her. What are you gonna do with that spot? And she would celebrate with her boyfriend. They have a bit of a physical exchange, and it looks like Kwan was about to strike her before Sensei Kim intervenes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you think he would have done it?
Um,
Or do you think that was for
oh,
show?
I think I don't know, but I did write he's a hothead on a path to destruction. So
Yeah,
he's losing control
absolutely.
from everything that's happened. Yeah.
Hmm. He needs something sharp to undull his senses, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you say? Um, okay, Sensei Kim intervenes. Oh, I love this. Is it a snarl that she kind of gives Tori every time she like walks away from Tori? She always does this thing where she like turns back and like stare down that she gives. It's just like you could read it so many ways, but
Hmm.
just because like we know about the was it worth it, a
Hmm.
moment
Right.
coming up later in the episode, I like to think of it as that Kim really, I don't know, maybe sees herself in Tori in some weird way, and she's not showing her hand, right? Like I feel it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, girl, you are so close, and if you could unfocus or no, or get focused, I guess, and
Hmm.
like you could win it all, like
Right.
so I think there's a little bit of that too.
Hmm.
We cut to Kreese, who is sharpening his dagger, and we get cuts of these sequences from him and Terry from the previous seasons. And then we see him following Terry out into the lobby in an attempt to go shiv him. His plan goes awry when Dennis and Sensei Wolf join Terry. And then there's a moment where Terry says, "Too bad they can't humiliate Cobra Kai because they did it to themselves." And I think I asked you before if you thought that was enough for Terry, or maybe I was asking in a different way, but in this moment, do you believe Terry? Do you think that the fact that Cobra Kai was disqualified and just because of like the lack of points, it wasn't really they weren't doping, right? They didn't do anything to get
No,
disqualified. They just didn't make it. Do you
they
think,
just lost.
yeah, do you think that's enough for Terry?
For him,
Like,
I think so,
yeah,
because I think Terry Silver's biggest grudge is with Daniel.
okay.
Um, because Daniel's the one that beat him at the dojo, and
Yeah.
it was kind of Miyagi-Do that undid what he was doing there in season 5.
Mm,
So he has nothing against Sensei Kim Daun. Like he
right.
has nothing against her. Um, Kreese, he did have beef with, but it was mostly he set Kreese up just to get him out of the way so he could do what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's really more Kreese who has beef with Silver than Silver has beef with Kreese, as this scene shows. That's why Kreese has the knife. He's like he's got his beef with Silver, but it's not really in the reverse. So while Silver might have enjoyed beating Cobra Kai, it wasn't his primary goal. It's Miyagi Do he wants to humiliate.
Yeah. Right. Hmm. Everyone at this point, including those that are eliminated, are called to the main lobby. We find out from Gunther that Tiger Strike has cheated, and 4 of their fighters have tested positive for PED, right? PED performance.
Piss.
Yeah. Who would have thought, right? These guys, and love this exchange between Gunther and Ivanov. I got the sense that there's a little bit of history with
Oh yeah,
them.
history. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
they fought each other at one point.
yeah, maybe fought each other or, still under like Gunther as, commissioner or whatever his role is. Maybe Ivanov is just like you again. Like really? Like remember that one time that year? Like, so it's just they definitely have something going on here. Tiger Strike leaves and Gunther reads the matchups for the semifinals. Zara versus Maria Alvarez, Tori versus Sam. Diego versus Kwan, and Axel versus Robbie. Um, let's see,
Mhm.
Miyagi-Do are sitting over by the stairs trying to game plan for training. Sam sees that Daniel wasn't paying attention and Chosen excuses the kids so the senseis can talk. Chosen has his little pep talk with Johnny and Daniel and says
Hmm.
basically to get their shit together or he'll pull their heads out of their asses for them. Excuse me. And a cousin of mine, my first cousin, uh, I I knew that he watched Cobra Kai, but he doesn't consume it like that. He
Hmm.
actually sent me like he took a picture of like this moment on his TV and sent it to me and said something like this is like the best pep talk from like any of the senseis or something. I kind of forget what he said, but when he sent it to me, I was thinking like, did I know he watches Cobra Kai? It's just one of those
Hmm.
things because I feel like he watches the show, but like he never texts me to talk to me about anything about it.
Yeah.
Whereas my buddy Phil, who joined me for this part two recap, this guy watched the trailer and oh my God, he sent me so many messages like he will send me several without me responding, like in between. I'm just like, dude, give me a chance to respond. And then I was like, you know what? Go watch Party's video. And I think he mistook Mike on social media for you. He's like, hey, dude, I like your
Oh,
trailer video. Yeah. But yeah, he really
that's
quite
fine.
enjoyed. Yeah, he enjoyed the video. So, but yeah, it's kind of funny how different people, like some fans, yeah, it's just it is what it is, and then there's others
Hmm.
who just like, oh, can't stop talking about it. But
Yeah.
anyway, Johnny and Daniel go have a talk on the beach. If they, let's see, talk on the beach. Oh, and they have one of the most heated exchanges that almost get very physical. That's the one that I was kind of teasing in the previous review that like, there's still another exchange that hasn't come up yet. I really like this moment because there's some really good burns. The Johnny calling Daniel a pussy. Like all of that.
Hmm.
I really liked it because it's all this built up you
Hmm.
know, beef, this animosity that they've had, and they try to bury a little bit to play nice, but then it just keeps coming back out, and just poking each other with these little jabs. But I do love how Miguel is like. He's like that mom on a vacation, and like you're looking at merchandise, and then your two kids are fighting, and you're like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? Like, cut it out!" So I really, I really like that um, from Miguel. We see Cobra
Yeah,
Kai.
Miguel coming in. There,
Hmm.
Johnny kicked the beach ball. There's a little bit of
He
an
did. He
Easter
did.
egg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. A little what
Hmm.
nod from like season 4 when he was on the
Hmm.
beach. Maybe also a little a nod to the Karate Kid movie. So
Yeah,
yep,
could be.
I
Yeah.
like that. Cut to Miguel. No. Okay, yeah, Cobra Kai in a brief training montage.
Yeah.
I really love what Kreese has to say about like two of them have been chosen as my champions or champions and because of them they have to fight because of because both of them have the fight inside of them, and that it is time to let it all out, harness their pain, focus that rage, and target the enemy. And then only then unleash hell. I like all of that. That's like Kreese being Kreese, top of his
Hmm.
game there
Yeah.
in terms of like the pep talks here.
And a
Um,
little bit to Tori, who like
mhm.
I guess like Tori's distracted now, and it confused. Like she was really focused before, but now she's like a little out of it.
Do you think it's because they had originally been eliminated, so she was coming to terms about that and really didn't quite know how to feel, and now they're like being thrown back in?
I guess, the other idea is it's just still Robbie or something about
Yeah.
him and Zara's gotten to her.
You're
Yeah,
right. Like
but mhm,
in the previous episode,
right.
when I kind of talked about like, oh, was Tori standing close enough to hear Robbie and Miguel talk? Maybe this is just more of that. Like maybe she wanted to talk to him, maybe about the situation with Zara and such,
Mm,
but just like
didn't
since
get a chance.
didn't
Yeah.
get a chance, and then Zara happened to be there,
Hmm.
so maybe that's what that is.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. Tori reminds him. Yep. So Amy mentions this too that uh Tori reminds him that Miyagi-Do are her friends, not the enemy. And he says, basically like, her friends are not going to help her win the tournament. So I just, again, him being who he is, getting into her head, and I understand where he's coming from. Like he's not
Yeah.
wrong in his own crease way, you
It's
know.
it's okay if you're friends, but you're not going to be a
You
champion by beating friends
you're
with
here to
you.
win. Yeah, you're here
Yeah.
to win. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what are your friends going to do for you on the opposing team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there's further responsibility because she's a team captain. The team is also relying on her. It's not
Yeah.
even just herself. So,
Yeah. Kim will say as much coming up here.
mhm.
That
Yeah,
another that exchange I keep referencing.
right. Hmm.
We cut to Miguel having his own pep talk with his two senseis, and as if they're being disciplined, he reminds them all the good that they have done for everybody, including himself. And my favorite part is when Miguel mentions how Daniel Crane kicks Silver out of the valley and Johnny licks over. Um, now, I think that reads as if like, oh, you didn't tell me that, right? Because Johnny wasn't there. He was at Silver's house.
At Silver's house. Yeah,
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting of the things that
it's a
like
good
Amanda has
connection. Yeah,
shared,
right.
like oh, he shoved Silver down at the charity, but didn't mention like, oh yeah, he crane kicked Silver into like
Mhm.
the trophy case.
Right.
Was it a trophy case? I think it was. Oh, so him
Um,
and Dimitri.
or
No,
was it like the mirror? But like there were
the
like
mirror.
trophies there because it was like on a.
I'm mixing it up with like Dimitri kicking Hawk, I think,
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
trophy
It
case.
wasn't like a trophy case, but it was like there was like a
Glass
trophy.
shelves.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Let's see, cut to a training montage in
Yeah.
Barcelona. Yep, that
Mhm.
really fun one. Miguel and the two captains. Now Miguel is there because he's Miguel, right? It's Miguel. The show started off with Miguel and
Yeah.
Johnny, because like I know there were people kind of wondering like, well, where's Kenny? Where's Devin? And stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I mean, fact is, they weren't flown to Barcelona like these three. I think it's really it. Um, but both senseis are hanging out of this little vehicle. It's probably my favorite moment. I
Yeah.
like that, like Daniel is also hanging out, but it's Johnny that's like chucking the bottles at the kids.
Chucking. Yeah.
No, nobody's really saying anything. Uh,
They got to run fast.
they do. I mean,
Hmm.
how fast do you think that little vehicle is going? Like 10, 15 miles an hour?
Top speed. Yeah.
Tops, yeah. Hey, you know who'd be faster than that vehicle?
Mhm.
Chosen on a scooter.
Oh,
I'd
there
like to
you
see that
go.
race. We go to the tournament, and Gunther
Oh, I
welcomes
want to say
everybody. Yeah. Hmm.
the montage. Do you have anything you like about the one of the things whenever I see these scenes because we got them in March when they were shooting it because there was all a
Hmm.
lot of fan stuff. So I think it's always interesting like to see the stuff we saw where that got on online just from passerbys saw them were
Yeah.
recorded and then
Yeah.
some of this stuff that like we didn't see like him in the little car there the two of
Yeah.
them
Right.
was like new and then I
You
think they're
would
at the
think
museum or something.
that would be a moment like some extra could pull out the phone and be like, "Hey, look at these guys in this vehicle
Mhm.
driving by me." Like, I'm surprised no footage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing of that came.
Hmm.
I mean, I maybe like the whole road was closed, so like there were no
Mm.
passers-by and the extras gave up their phone or something. But yeah.
It could be. Yeah. I know they've tried to do that in the
Mhm.
past with like tournament scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I this really like any thoughts that I have is just I love the locations and I just
Hmm.
it makes the show feel much bigger. Like, hey, we were actually in Barcelona and
Yeah.
that's the idea. So I loved
Right.
it in season 3 when they went to Okinawa. We finally saw Okinawa, not Hawaii. We're actually in Barcelona and
Hmm.
not just like the aquarium in Georgia,
Right.
something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's real. I do like the idea that they must have spent half a day just driving around the city to go to the location of it.
yeah, hmm
But we won't talk about that. That's
yeah.
you get a
Uh,
fast travel in Miyagi verse.
Indeed. We cut to the tournament, and Gunther welcomes everybody to the semi-final round of the Sekai Taikai. He goes over the point system and says it's still anyone's tournament to win, and at this
Mhm.
stage, no deficit is too large to overcome. Now, I did see you post this somewhere after the drop, but were you able to find out how much points is scored on a death?
Um, didn't I think Hayden said 69, right? Or
Oh,
690.
oh, so Axel wins, I guess, or the
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be
Eunjangdo
hard.
wins.
Well, no, because Axel was fighting Robbie, so killing Quan doesn't count. It was outside of the match.
Yeah, okay, that's yeah. All right,
Mhm.
technicality.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so let's see. First match is Juan and Diego. I really like this one. Justin Ortiz talked about this sequence, and
Hmm.
it was something they kind of came up with last minute. And he asked Brandon if there's a kick he's never done, and he's like, "Yeah, there's this kick." And so like he does his kick, and it's nothing like what you see in the behind the scenes sequence.
Hmm.
This one looks a lot more brutal. You know, like
Yeah.
the flip kick that he does, and boom, right to the head, knocks
Mhm.
Diego completely out. Really
Right.
scary. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm even worried for his teammates who have to rush to him. So, you really get the sense that Quan ain't playing. So you're kind of like, all right, how far can this go with this guy?
Hmm.
Daniel checks in on Sam, kind of brief here. She says she's ready and just wish that there wasn't any drama, like, on the mat. And
Hmm.
um,
That'll never happen.
that'll never happen, not in this world.
Yeah.
Maria versus Zara. This is a brief one, but Zara shuts her out.
Yeah.
I think it's 7-0. I think if I'm not mistaken. A little surprising there because I thought Maria was, pretty good herself, but maybe Zara's just locked in after like losing a couple sponsors and this stuff going
Maybe,
on with touring.
or maybe Dimitri did something to Maria and she
Oh,
just can't focus anymore.
with those long loose limbs of his or something, or
Yeah, that's not all that's long. Um,
all three senseis has some words for Robbie. He does appear confident right here,
mhm,
in this moment. So, we got Robbie versus Axel, and Axel comes off aggressively defending, and Robbie's coming at him, attacking. It's not
mhm.
really quite working, and then Sensei Wolf instructs to Axel to attack, and
But
I
should
think
we
it's
back up a little
yeah,
because you
yeah.
skipped your
Mm.
Tori Kim scene?
Oh, yes, yes, I did. Oh, wow. Holy cow.
I'm
Yeah.
like I'm like waiting for you to get to it, but you kept going on, and I'm like, hold on,
It's so good. It's
you've
like
been talking about it two episodes now.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. Sensei Kim comes over to talk to Tori to give her some pointers about Zara, and Tori's not worried. And I love how Kim responds that she's not 100% focused and risks defeat for all of them. So that's like, the little bit of pressure, but not really, but also a reminder, you're the fucking captain. Like, it
right.
does kind of like,
Hmm.
um, it's up to you here.
Hmm.
And yeah, we talked about it. Tori questions, was it worth it? Like all everything
Hmm.
that you've done, past friends and relationships and all of that. And you see some reservation from Sensei Kim. So just yeah, hats off to Alicia. Like we don't see enough of like what she's capable of in terms of her range because like season 5, she was just so one note villain, Bond villain is what I kept on calling her.
You
And
know
so
what she says, like something Zara is formidable, but she's
mhm,
never had to break stone blocks with her fists or something. It's
yeah,
kind of like a moment where she's like acknowledging what they did, last season, but like
yeah,
putting a positive spin on it. You are stronger than her. Like
right.
I think you can win. It's a way of like showing confidence in Tori, which something she hasn't done much of.
No, not at all. So, yeah. And was it worth it? She, almost no hesitation, but you really don't buy her. But she's like,
Mhm.
yeah, yes, absolutely. Or I forget the
Absolutely.
actual. Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
just, she kind of like exits that sequence, and you're just kind of like, what's
Do you
that
believe her?
about?
Do you believe her?
I don't.
See, I
No,
did.
I think
I
she's got some
did.
regret. Okay. Hmm,
Mm.
that's interesting.
She would
Because
give it all up for Cobra Kai. And I'll tell you my theory as to
okay,
why I believe it.
yeah. Is
So,
there
I mean,
another right now
Chosen
or
has been going after, well, I can tell right now. I mean,
okay, all right,
Chosen has been going after Kumiko, right?
right.
But now he's like with Kim, what's going on? But maybe Kim will choose Cobra Kai over Chosen, which leaves him free to be with Kumiko, who he really
Hmm.
loved.
Yes,
So anyway, that's my theory.
I think we all hope that to happen. So very very popular one. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what Sensei Kim faces with her grandfather when she returns.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, following. So yep. All right, let's see. All three senseis works for Robbie. He's confident. Robbie versus Axel. Okay. So Axel is now instructed to attack, and then he goes hard against Robbie, who is defending, and he's mad. Axel's big mad. Are you going to keep defending, or are you going to fight? Where do you think this is coming from right now? Axel's aggression,
Um, I mean, I think Axel's just worked up. I mean, first off, he's there to win. He's under immense pressure from Wolf,
right?
and then Terry Silver above that. So yeah, he's just worked up. He has nothing against Robbie, I don't think,
But
but
like, hey,
he's
fight
just trying
back.
to let it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, at one point, Axel shoves Robbie into Cobra Kai, and Quan, thinking zero eyes are on him, gives him a little Cobra elbow to the ribs. Cheap shot there. Miguel steps onto the mat just to get shoved down by Axel, and things slowly escalate. And as Gunther instructs everyone to get off the mat, Ivanov literally comes out of nowhere and
Mhm.
punches him in the face, knocking him out.
Whoa.
Now, in my interview with Josh Lamboy, who plays Ivanov, he mentions this, and I keep forgetting to look every single time I watch this episode, is that Tiger Strike is still there. And so even though they've been disqualified, they're basically being cucked, I guess.
Hanging
It's like,
out.
yeah, you gotta
They
watch
just
the
still
rest of this
showed up
fucking
and
tournament.
no one noticed because they were just used to him being there.
Yeah, I guess so. So Ivanov with the fist to the air says Davai. What was the translation? Do you recall for that? Is,
Let's go. Yeah.
is it a version of Let's Go? Okay.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we get
And
a
then
Let's
and then
fucking
Irish
go.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's either Kara or Kara. It's Cara. I had mistaken her for a character named Noemi, but I believe there is a
Oh,
Noemi somewhere. I just mistook the
could be.
or
Yeah.
yeah, I got the actresses wrong.
Mm,
So Kara or Kara, played by Caitlin Hudson, is her name.
mm.
All right. So now I have a series of just matchups. So if jump in if you have any comments. All right, Cobra Kai continued taking on Robbie. Not very fair there. Then we got Miguel and Axel. Ivanov and Oksana, who's Britt Baker, taking on non-fighters to start off with, of course. Um, Sam versus Kara. Zara versus Tori. I really like that one too because I like how our core characters, including Tori, like they don't get really easy wins. I think if anybody, Sam would probably be the closest, but even she, got kicked by like Quan. Actually,
Yeah.
I think that might be coming up if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Sam isn't like quote unquote bulletproof from that, but
Hmm.
he isn't like really thrown onto the mat like Tori was by Zara and Miguel by Axel. So I like how they're still kind of underdogs, right? Like they are still got that chip on their shoulder and that they're still, trying to claw into this tournament.
Right.
Um, Chosen and Ivanov. What did you think about Chosen and Kim pairing off with Oksana and Ivanov?
I kind of it's like the first part of the fight I really enjoyed here they go and it kind of it made sense. I don't know it's one of the this is I'm really enjoying watching them because they come together and then they fight the Russians and kick them and hey maybe they will work out together.
Yeah, I do like the fight, but I'm trying to place where the beef, I guess, between Kim and Oksana comes from because it almost seems personal for Oksana. I'm trying to remember if they
Well, they were eliminated and took their spot
okay.
after Tiger Strike got disqualified.
Yeah, but that's not their fault. That's Tiger Strike.
Well,
Yeah,
she's not
okay.
gonna feel like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, all right. I guess I'll buy that for $1. Kreese sees no, Dennis. Let's see. Let me go back up a little bit. Johnny calls out for Robbie, and Wolf sees this and heads for Johnny, but knocks out the ref on the way there. Do you know who the ref is by chance?
Um, Not off the top of my head.
Okay, Master Tony Chung, who is also one of the trainers. He's also trained a lot of the background fighters like Alex, the female Cobra Kai fighter,
Mm-hmm.
Animal from the Furia de Patera, a team. A lot of these background guys, like Fan, who also
Mhm.
fought Miguel in episode 7. And also, he was the one that drove off on the scooter as chosen. So he's also Yuji's stunt double.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, Johnny. So Dennis goes for Daniel, and Daniel kind of speaks for everybody. You again. It's like well, we saw you with Sensei Wolf earlier in the hallway. How did you make it over here? And now, like, you just targeted Daniel? Like, we have unfinished business. You keep kicking
Of
my
course
ass.
he does. He's mad.
He is mad. So yeah, shout outs to Sensei William. Love
Mhm.
seeing him here. Sees Silver across the way, tucks the dagger behind his back because where else are you going to put it? I guess. Um, let's
By
see.
the way,
Kim takes. Yep.
you got to mention way back in the valley, they're watching on TV.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, and while
Or-
Amanda's worried, and Bert and Nate are like, "Oh, we should have snuck on," and Nate goes, "We got mad brawl experience."
Yeah, I love that because like Nate is almost at least for me is almost like he was channeling like Napoleon Dynamite, like
Mhm.
almost in his delivery, like
Mhm.
the brawling skills. But yeah, Bert just talking about how like oh they should have snuck into someone's luggage, and that's funny. Like I'm not saying like they got this for me, but that's something I often joke about. Like yeah, just sneak me in your luggage, take me to Barcelona, or stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I uh, love seeing these guys, and we can't go a season without like some really nice quips from Bert and Nate. So
Yeah, there we go.
uh and I think is this the same point where Anthony's trying to calm down Amanda? Right? Doesn't Amanda
I
so
mean,
like oh
certainly as the brawl's going on, I think he's
yeah,
because he's like looking over at her. Yeah.
yeah. Creasy Silver, I mentioned that. Kim takes out Oksana. Gunther gets his lick in on Ivanov, hits him with
Hmm.
the Das Vidanya, you son of a bitch. Love that. One of the best quotes of at least part two. I'd have to think about it for part one as well. So love that. Okay, and after that, we have a threesome between Johnny, Daniel, and Sensei Wolf. And until Johnny sees Kreese, it leaves Daniel to Wolf by himself. Now, why do you think that happens? I mean, it's just one of those things that we got to get Johnny moving, but he's just like, hey, I see Kreese going, and then he just leaves Daniel by himself,
He saw a bigger target, I guess. Yeah. I mean,
or he just knew that like, oh, he must be going after Silver. Like my fight's not done. And, I really wish. I don't know if this is something I said on the podcast, but I feel like I felt like there was going to be another fight between Johnny and Silver that it wasn't finished, and I feel like I said that he was going to call him Pretty Boy or something, and so I don't know. I might be mixing
mm,
up some different things, but I was like, oh my God, that kind of I felt like I called it. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Um, but yeah, really like that fight, but we're not there yet.
mhm.
Let's see. Devin and Kenny take down the rest of Dublin Thunder. And, for a while I was wondering, I was like, does that do anything? And we do see this. The two of them take down like at least three or four Dublin Thunder competitors. Hawk and Diego were fighting kind of alongside each other at one point and exchanged looks, probably, hair recognize hair kind of thing. Kreese does find Silver backstage and realize he's missing the dagger, which Terry, he can see this, huh? You're missing something. Decides to do it old school and use his bare hands. A little back and forth between the two there. What did you think of this fight between Silver and Kreese?
Okay, so first off, like Kreese was kind of foolish for a guy who's normally planning, taking the dagger and putting it in his back under his belt, like is like the least secure place. Like,
In
like
the middle
for
of
a
a brawl,
guy,
mind you.
right, in the middle of a mad brawl, right? Like he actually had it inside his gear where it would have been safe and secure, and then he puts it in the least secure place he could. So, yeah,
I would
kind
have
of a little short-sighted there.
he should have put the dagger in his mouth and do combat rolls through the mat, so that way he can be
That would
sure
be
to not
more
lose it.
Vietnam authentic, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
we knew Marty was in Rambo, so
There we go. There we go.
uh
But anyway, about Kreese and Silver, This is definitely a fight we knew was going to come ever since the end of season 4. Like something is going to happen. Like Kreese is a guy who preached his whole life no mercy, and he was friends with Silver, but that must be gone now because he's after him, and he is was fully intent to just to kill him off. Like Kreese, like the this tournament would have been the end for him, just as he can get his revenge. Um, but obviously, Silver, as he once said, is one of the most ferocious fighters in the history of the sport and isn't
Yeah,
going
he
to go
did.
down easy.
Yeah. And yeah, it's this I don't why'd it have to be behind stage though? I feel, like
It should
I
have been center stage.
well, I just feel like it's it's kind of a small space. We don't really get to see like a really good fight, but maybe they're holding back on something, like
Yeah,
this
they're
wasn't.
hiding behind the curtains and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of my thing. I'm like, oh man, and the best part of them being back there is like when Johnny, comes out from, you know, from the brawl to join in and kind of
Hmm.
take over. So that was the best part of it. I was just like, oh man, I really would love to see like a really good one-on-one between Silver and Kreese. So that's kind
Hmm.
of what I was hoping out of this.
Hmm.
Um, all right, Quan sees Robbie and goes for him. This is where he shouts out Kane and when charges. I don't know if he charges, but he walks to him over on the
Hmm.
mat. Sam steps in the way. It gets kicked by Quan. And so
Oof.
there might have been two instances, or maybe I mistook something else for this moment right here, where yeah, Quan does hit, um, kick Sam.
Hmm.
Axel, who's fighting Miguel, sees this, tosses Miguel off to the side like a rag doll, and is now fighting Quan.
Yeah.
Quan gets knocked into one of the cameras, and everyone watching at home sees an up close bleeding Quan. Quan finds the Eunjangdo in reaching distance, stands up, and with a guttural scream, charges at Axel. Some
Mm.
kicking, some spinning, and Quan lands on the dagger. Everybody's in shock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you were spoiled. I think when I tune into your stuff, I do see some of these spoilers too. So like often people are
Yeah.
like, Quan dies. And so I was like, how's it gonna happen? And like I don't know how many times I saw it before I watched it with my buddy Phil for our recap. And even we kept on rewinding back that sequence, like, all right, what happened? And
Hmm.
so it's literally Axel right place, wrong time.
Hmm.
Quan does the spin kick, or he's like in midair
Hmm.
and he just hits Axel's leg wrong or knee. I kind of forget at this point.
Yeah, right. Like Axel
Um,
wasn't even kicking it. He just like had his like
it was a
leg
follow
back.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah, his
right.
leg just
Hmm.
followed through, and it's
Hmm.
just yeah, a perfect bad situation here.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so Gunther yells to cut the feed, and I love how there's that cut of him looking straight to one of the cameras.
Hmm.
Like even the cameraman's in shock. Like cut the
Hmm.
feed, so he repeats it a second time, just thinking about
Because
it
he
again. Just
knows they didn't cut it the first time. I would
yeah,
wonder how
yeah,
does he actually know that? He's not watching.
oh yeah. Maybe there's a certain the light, the red light on the cameras. You can
There
see that
are.
it's recording. It's live. And so, yeah, just really shocking. A lot of people lost one of their favorite new characters.
Yeah,
Um,
me.
yeah, R.I.P. man, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Daniel gets to him first and turns him over.
he does.
Um,
Now I forgot who told me this first because I didn't get the sense that so Daniel was making his way through the crowd to get to Sam.
mhm.
Did you pick up on that?
No,
I
I
didn't
never thought
either.
of that until just now. But I mean, I
Really?
guess I
Okay.
would say, okay, maybe it makes sense, but I don't know.
Because like we never really flashed to like him looking at Sam,
Did he know? Yeah, was it? Did he even know where Sam was at that point?
right?
Like,
Because Johnny did that with Robbie. We got Daniel kind of doing the same thing, like Sam. But I couldn't really tell you where Daniel was actually heading. Just that he was
mm.
just cutting through people.
I
Um,
assumed he was just going towards the scream.
yeah. but the
Hmm.
scream hadn't happened yet, and he's still kind of
Oh,
making his way
beforehand.
over.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But kind of, what are your thoughts as to Daniel being the one that yeah, I know he was already kind of heading in that direction, but I know like logistically, what about a Sensei Kim, Freeze, Yoon, how come nobody is tending to
I
Quan?
mean, uh, I guess the thinking is, I mean, a part of me just says that, well, Daniel's the main character. Like, like,
Yeah,
but like, if you want to try to explain it, he was closer, um, someone who's compassionate and like willing to go look and investigate. And, maybe Sensei Kim was just in a little bit of confused shock for a moment. Like
yeah.
even whose scream was that or something. So I mean it's not hard to explain that, some people were just little confused shock and Daniel, who happened to be close, saw him and just went straight to him.
A lot of people were separated too. Like it's I'm not trying to like be funny, but it kind of reminds me of the movie Clue from 1985.
Oof.
There's like one sequence where there's like, everybody in the household hears a scream and it cuts to everyone's reaction like, oh, who's screaming? Like I'm in
Hmm.
here in this room by myself. And so
Hmm.
you see like Reese reacting to the scream, Johnny,
Hmm.
Daniel, like
Hmm.
everybody's kind of separated. And I don't know, like I feel with Daniel's side quests to find out more about Mr. Miyagi and the contents of this box. Now Daniel is, right here, kneeled down the body of a student in the
Hmm.
same tournament. So I think, like the very immediate reaction of Daniel, like I think that's going to tie into the whole Miyagi stuff, and that's something that I
Hmm.
kind of picked up on from Joe
Yeah.
and Luan from their interview when Joe kind of said like he said something
There's,
about like, well, how's Daniel going to react, following
yeah.
this or something like
Yeah.
that. So I thought that
Hmm.
was like, okay, well, I guess we're getting that answer.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and Snake, well, hell of a freaking
Hmm.
cliffhanger slash
Cliffhanger, yeah.
finale.
Hmm.
Really good one there. Well, I don't think we need to really get into theories. We're so close to the drop. You're working on videos yourself.
Yeah.
I think we just could just pop into the feedback from the
The
group.
feedback, yeah. Let's hear it. What
Okay,
did the people
let's do
say?
it. All right. Okay, let's see here. In the Facebook group, we have 5 episodes left, you guys. Part three, 5 final episodes. If you guys want to ask questions, leave feedback, anything you want to ask us, join the Facebook group, the Companion Network, Companion spelled with K. Just look for the threads. And even if you miss an episode or I make the mistake of missing your comment, I will be sure to go ahead and read that.
Hmm.
So for episode 10, not a whole lot, but the first one comes from Dorian. He asks, why are our boys, Daniel and Johnny, still fighting in all caps? Miguel is right. I thought they were past this shit. Or he says shite. Please, no more. We get it. They're frenemies, but please, you're on the same side. Sensei Kim looked hesitant when Tori asked if it's worth it. Alicia has delivered her best performance on this episode in this episode. RIP Quan, you'll always be my favorite. Thank you, Dorian, for that. And see, so he picked up on the hesitation too.
Yeah.
So I feel he also doesn't really quite buy it.
Mm.
But yeah, would love to see what's gonna happen. The next one comes from Jay Dizzle. He says, in the house or in this house, we were shocked about Quan's ending. He
Hmm.
month ending. I hadn't seen any spoilers, and although as soon as the Eunjangdo hit the floor, when it was all kicking off, it was clear someone was getting shanked. I didn't think it was going to be him. He
Hmm.
had become our new favorite character, a pure Cobra to the core, like an OG Dutch or Barnes. He never got his chance in the final. It may be slightly questionable parenting, but apart from a few bits I will skip, I've watched all the series with my kids, 7 and 8, and they absolutely love it too. They really loved Quan. I had to tell them what happened and skip that last bit for them. Like me, they were sad, but it was It was then really helpful to show them Brandon H. Lee's Instagram page, where there are clips of him getting up with a fake Eunjangdo in his chest, laughing, dancing, and generally proving that he is still alive. It also like I know it's for fun, but I feel some type of way to see a picture of like, Daniel Kim, who plays Yoon, pretending to stab Kwan, and the one with Peyton List also like pretending to stab Kwan. Like I know, it's fun, but it's also kind of like the imagery still, it's just kind of like I know it's fake, but it still kind of hurts to see that. Um, Also, it led us to all learning the Hit the Kwan song and dance. So very Cloud. I'm not sure that's a mistype there. So very Cloud. Can't wait to see how they wrap up my favorite show of all time. Thank
Very,
you,
very
Jay
cool. I
Dizzle.
think you meant very
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
very, let's see. So very cool. So okay, maybe yeah, so very cool instead of very cloud.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a lot of people were familiar with the Hit the Kwan song. That was a very popular song that also had its own kind of like dance challenge, like it had some dancing sequences to it. So very familiar with that. I did not know that that was a song that, they would I guess often play during downtime, like during the tournament scenes. So when I brought that up, like in a post or something, I had no idea. I was just like, I'm familiar with this song, and it's also Quan spelled differently. So
Right.
um, the last one comes back from Randy C. What did I say that right? The last feedback comes back from Randy C. There were little moments within the episode that intrigued me. Sensei Kim didn't seem to give a convincing response to Tori's question about whether or not it was all worth it. I'm wondering if Sensei Kim is trying to protect her own emotions as she gazed at Chosen, or if this was her own way of trying to further encourage Tori. See, so yeah, we kind of spoke on that. This one seems to
Yeah.
be, yeah, a lot of people kind of reading it differently. The Spanish captain and Eli seem to give each other a respectful nod in the midst of that brawl. I'm really curious if there was a story that was cut out to explain this.
There
Um,
was, wasn't it? Didn't he say that in the interview?
the only thing I remember in the
Or,
interview was, oh, he does talk about that very
yeah.
moment, but that, yeah, it was kind of like
Yeah.
the respecting, and then
I think like the choreography, like the fights, was there was gonna be like a little bit more between them or something,
I think
just
you're
over
right.
the
Yeah,
course of the episodes,
yeah,
and
okay, I
then
think you're right.
that was like the gonna be the culmination of like the mini story,
And that,
it,
yeah, it could
yeah,
have been edited down
yeah,
because now that I'm thinking about it, I think, that's what Jules said about like the stuff with Maria,
right.
the idea, when it was originally going to be in Brazil, like they were Brazilian,
Hmm.
and the idea was she lures in these foreign fighters, get into their head, and Diego racks up all the points on the mat. So,
Right,
so
right.
that's the other one. And then Randy ends it with, finally, I am really curious as to how Cobra Kai recovers from the loss of Quan. It looks like from the trailer they might still be involved in the Sekai Tekai at the All Valley, but does Kreese stay involved with the dojo given his likely U.S. legal troubles? Will Sensei
Mhm.
Kim take the sensei leadership? Also, does this bring Yoon back as team captain? And will we finally see expansion of his character? Finally, I'm sure the loss of, excuse me, Quan has rattled Cobra Kai as a dojo and a team. It will be interesting to see if team members still show loyalty to each other and or their senseis, particularly since it was their sensei's Eunjangdo that killed their captain. Um, never mind like the students. I wonder what the hell's going to happen between Kreese and Master Kim.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of what my eyes are going to be fixated on.
Hmm.
In however the first, how many episodes Master Kim's actually in. Um, let's
Probably at
see.
least the first one. I think it's almost we know that from the videos, and even we saw like an injured crease back in Korea, like
Mhm.
back in December. So clearly, like they're going to be there. So
Do you think that that bruise around his eye is that from his fight with Silver?
yes, yes,
Okay,
I think it's from his fight with Silver.
because I don't remember if we see. any markings on his face in this
Takes a
episode.
takes a bruise a day to, actually kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
come out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I was like, hey, is that did Master Kim?
Hmm.
Did he do something?
Hmm.
Because in one of the episodes, Sensei Kim had mentioned, like these are her um grandfather's students.
Hmm.
Like I remember that the language she used there, and I'm
Hmm.
thinking, well, shit, how's he gonna react when he finds out that Kwan, was killed in this,
Yeah,
and the knife was the weapon here.
his own. I
Yeah,
think
and
I think I think the fact that Kwan kind of killed himself is going to
mhm,
be part of it. Or, like he didn't lose dishonorably or whatever. Like he
right. It was a
literally
freak
killed himself.
accident.
Yeah, like um I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We will see. Yeah, I didn't want to get too much into the trailer talk because, like,
Yeah, fair
in a
enough.
few
Yeah,
weeks
it's
we're gonna
it's
get to 611 anyway.
yeah.
Yeah. So there it is, you guys. We did it. Just right under the wire. The parties are gonna be that's so weird.
I
We'll see if that really
like
picks up.
that.
But the parties are gonna be finishing up their last two
Their bench
seasons, the binge. So that's you're looking
got
at
a
least four
lot
more
of
episodes.
got a lot of watching to do.
A lot of watching indeed. And we'll see. I want to see where fiance party what her thoughts are about Kwan when we get there.
Ooh, all
So
right. Yeah,
we'll
we'll
see.
see.
All right, we already kind of teased everything we'll be working on in the previous episode, but
Hmm.
for some reason, if you ended up listening to this episode first by mistake, I mentioned I'm gonna have, uh, the reaction slash watch along videos like I did for part one ready when the show drops, along with a full spoiler recap with a guest.
Hmm.
And from then on, we'll see who I'll be able to get back on the pod. There's been some faces we haven't seen in a while that we saw in the trailer or even images that will be returning in these final episodes. So would love to speak to some of them and kind of have this podcast wrap up with some of those
Hmm.
season one interviews. So that'd be a lot of fun. So, Watch Party, thank you so much for knocking out these last episodes. Yeah, as we get
Good.
really close, yeah, for these
Hmm.
final five episodes. And until the next episode, that's Vidania, you son of a bitch.